Hi, my name is Niina, and you're listening Together Through the Storms podcast. Welcome to the journey with me. I would like to begin by acknowledging traditional owners of the land where I'm recording this episode today, which is the Wurrung country. I would like to pay my respects to the elders past and present, and to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who may be listening today. Hi everyone, welcome back Together Through the Storms podcast. Today's episode will be having a very special guest joining us. Her name is Hannah. She's a mother for 3 beautiful children. One of her child has additional needs. And today Hannah is going to share her story and share some insight of the strategies that has helped her to overcome some challenges that she has faced. I can't wait for you to hear the episode, so let's get started. Hi Hannah.
Hi, Niina. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very excited.
Oh, I'm so excited too. Thank you so much for joining us today. You're my very first special guest, and I am so excited to have you here and feeling very privileged to have you as my first guest because the two of us go way back. For those early years of being a mom for child or children with additional needs, and we've shared quite a journey together. And I feel like I don't know where I would be without you, and I have no idea how would I've survived without you. So I hope that this episode and this podcast can bring that sense of comfort to other people who maybe don't have their own Hannah in their lives. So thank you.
Very sweet. Ditto. Feelings are mutual. I'm very excited.
Yes, excellent. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit for everyone?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Hannah. I'm 37. I am in Geelong. I've got 3 little kids, 7, 5, and 2 boys and a girl. My middle one, Oscar, is the little boy that bonded us together. And I am a nurse by day. Have been a nurse for 15 years now. Love what I do. I also have a husband and a dog. Yes. Would you like to know anything else?
That's a great summary of who you are, and I'm sure we can hear a little bit more about your journey in a minute. So thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
Right, Hannah, are you ready for a little icebreaker at the start?
Sure. Hit me.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an easy one, hopefully. Can you share one thing that you love to do as your self-care routine?
My self-care routine. Oh, goodness. Well, to be honest, I think I've probably found it hard to find time for that sort of stuff. I don't think it's specifically related to having children or a child with additional needs. I think being a busy working mum in general, makes those things hard. One thing I've found lately, especially that has really helped, because I'd always enjoy like of a night time because, when the kids are in bed or whatever, you can watch TV, you can do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I've always loved to read and before children. And then that sort of went by the wayside. Yes, past life. And then only recently I've started to really get back into it. And it's been such a game changer. It's that time you just get to zone out to yourself, especially at night time. And then that helps you wind down as well. Because I used to even find that just going to work was a break, to be honest. But then I was like, you probably need to find some things that are more just for yourself, not. So that's really helped. And then obviously other normal things like walking the dog or going out for coffee or just taking any moment.
Yes. My God. I can just resonate so much with that. Just going to work sometimes feels like self-care, but yeah, books are great and it just takes you into a whole different world.
Yeah, you completely switch off into something else. So joining a book club was great too. So that sort of pushed me to do it because otherwise people. And it's a good, social aspect too. And you can meet other people and talk about it together and do social things together, which is great.
I'm so excited. And as a background knowledge, we do join the same book club. So we love exchanging best part of the books that we've enjoyed. Thanks for sharing that.
That's okay.
Okay, Hannah. So first is quite heavy question that I have for you, but we've discussed this previously and you've said that you're willing to share, and I really appreciate your vulnerability because these are heavy topics that we're talking about. Can you share maybe a darkest time during your journey and what got you through that time?
Just to provide a bit of context, I'll just quickly discuss Oscar's story. So Oscar's now 5. We didn't know about any of Oscar's disabilities or complex medical conditions before he was born. So when Oscar was born, he was diagnosed with a bowel disease called Hirschsprung's disease. So we spent a lot of time in NICU and at the children's. He's had a lot of bowel surgery over that time of his little 5 years, and he's now got a ileostomy, so like a stoma bag. So he was born with that, and then 4 weeks later, we found out he was deaf, so severe to profoundly deaf, and he now has 2 cochlear implants, which he was implanted about 16 months ago. So we knew those 2 things very early on. Obviously, that was quite heavy, but it was what it was, and we were muddling our way through it. But I think one of the hardest times we found, maybe it was because it came out of left field, but when Oscar was just over 1, he had a planned bowel surgery. He had a stoma when he was born, and he went into hospital to have it reversed. And that surgery went fine, but he woke up and we knew something was wrong. My husband was like, "Oh, he can't see." And I was like, "What? What do you mean he can't see?" And you could visibly tell Oscar, his vision was off. Like he would look past you. It was like you weren't there. It was the only way. He became very obsessed with lights. Luckily at the children's, we had a very good medical team who took our concerns seriously and didn't fob us off. But it was a very scary time because we didn't know what was wrong. And of course, the worst case scenarios play through your mind first. Has he had a stroke? Has he got a brain tumor? And it turns out we don't know why it happened, but he has had bilateral cataracts, which sounds odd and strange because you just think of cataracts is like an old person condition. And I remember feeling relieved at the time. I'm like, "Oh, is that all? Okay, we can deal with this. He'll have some more surgery." I think little did we know what was ahead of us. And I remember the doctors looking at me as if like, I don't think you quite know what's involved here. And it sounds little. So probably that was the darkest time, probably that week, trying to find out what was wrong. We had this baby in hospital who couldn't see, couldn't hear. He didn't have implants at that stage, so he had no sensory input whatsoever. Very happy boy. I mean, it was still very little, but middle of COVID, which also didn't help. So that was probably the darkest time. And then the management of cataracts is quite difficult. You've got a child that has surgery, but they need to wear contact lenses for a long period of time. So from the period of probably 18 months to the age of 4 was really hard. Trying to get contact lenses in a very strong little boy is very difficult. So once Oscar turned 4-ish, we'd sort of hit breaking point a little bit. He was medically traumatized anyway, so we had to end up pushing for more surgery to get a permanent lens, which Oscar's had and has been a game changer. But we had some really difficult times as a family managing that condition for Oscar, amongst all the other things. But that was probably the hardest. It dictated our whole life. Basically, having to hold your child down every day and every night. It's not pleasant for anyone.
And
of the family. So that's in a very brief nutshell. I could go on for hours.
I know we could just carry on. Such traumatizing experience, and being able to see from my perspective what you've been through is just it's quite heartbreaking, and how you've overcome all that and seeing him as the happy little man he is at the moment is just like knowing what you've been through.
Yeah, he's a tough cookie.
Yes, definitely. When I was thinking about this question in your case, I was like, which hardest moment are you going to choose? Because there's so many and there's been a lot of challenging times for you. But in general, like either that moment of not knowing if he's going to go blind or what's going on with his vision, or in general, the hard times throughout the challenges with his eyes or any of the other hard interventions that you've been through. What keeps you going, or can you say one particular thing? Because me looking at you not being able to help much is just like, it's really tough. I don't know where you got all that strength from, but is there like something that you can name that would have given you strength or given you sort of ability to get through those times?
Gosh, I think in the moment, you don't think, you just do. I don't know if it's adrenaline or it's just the love for your child, or you just
Survival mode.
you just do. I think I'm very lucky. We don't have a big family, but we do have a very supportive family. I was very lucky, especially my husband and I. We seem to be a very good team, and whenever one person is down, the other one can pick up the slack.
Yeah.
Emotionally, or because I tend to find in those sort of moments, you do push through, but it's later on.
Yeah.
You can sort of fall in a heap.
Absolutely.
When the storm sort of settled down. Your body just goes, oh my God. So especially during that, I mean, it was during COVID, it was hard, but luckily we're a bit more regional. So I was able to have my parents come and stay with us for that whole period of time, because we had a period of time when Oscar was at home and couldn't see while we were waiting for surgery. So that was really difficult to have a deaf and really vision impaired toddler who was crawling into walls. And, I think, and it is hard for some people who don't have that physical support at the time. But that was a huge help. And I think also having a really good medical team, because we had a new medical team on top of that after, another new diagnosis, people that are in your corner.
Yeah, and you would be having so many medical teams involved that it's a huge, huge combination to manage as a parent. Also, I feel like you guys were just not having any of that recovery time, what you mentioned. Like you get that high and you push through, and then you come down, and then the emotions hit you and you kind of process of what's happened. But I feel like there was a long period of time when you didn't have that time because you were just on a survival mode, and that would be very draining. So I'm incredibly proud how you've overcome that horrible time and seeing you slowly coming to the other side. I mean, not that life is perfect, but it's just very inspiring for being able to see that. Okay, Hannah, let's move from that very challenging times into the more special times. I don't know if you agree, but I feel like as a parent to a child who has additional needs, the highs are so high and the lows are so low. But you learn to celebrate everything that is worth celebrating. I just wondered if you wanted to share the most precious memory from this journey or something special with Oscar that has happened to you guys.
I think it's hard, like you said, to pinpoint one big memory. You said when you have a child with additional needs or complex medical needs that aren't going to develop in a normal pattern that an average child would, you have to grieve losing those milestones. So any win is just huge. And that makes you a better person, but you gain so much pleasure from the small things. So because I obviously had Oscar's older brother first, I knew what it was like to have a kid that was just bang, 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 just
tracking
along on an average scale, So I think hearing Oscar say mum for the first time was pretty special, because that came very late. I can't remember the exact age. We might have been 2, maybe. And also being able to sign mum as well was
Yeah.
pretty special. You think you're never going to hear it. So that was pretty special.
And knowing the work you've also put into that. Like I would say for a lot of our children with additional needs, the milestones take hours and hours of hard work and people behind you, and it's not something they just do naturally. So seeing that would be so special.
I think the other main thing is probably in the last 6 months, there's one big memory. Like Oscar's been through a lot in his little life, a lot of medical intervention, a lot of sedating. Is just seeing him happy. We didn't realise how obviously miserable he was for a long time. He was just so sick, and obviously just didn't feel himself. And being able to, I know kids are generally very resilient, and they're amazing, more amazing than adults, if you ask me. But being able to accept he's got a stoma bag now, and he just gets on with it, like nothing phases him, and he's able to start forming social relationships and make little friends and just enjoy everyday life. And it's just so special. We didn't realize how much all we wanted was just normal mundane life.
Yes.
And just seeing him happy and just being able to achieve other things like the simple questions, which you don't realize is really hard, especially with, as you know, having deaf children with a really severe language delay. Just being able to answer those simple questions is really hard, and not having the ability to communicate or express themselves is really hard. So even, just being able to tell me how old he is and what's your name and being able to answer that has just been huge. His ability to understand things, it's just great.
Yes. Oh, so many beautiful things that you mentioned. And I think one of the hardest things on the journey, especially early on, is that grief that comes along with not hitting those milestones. And you go to a nurse that asks, is your child doing this? And is your child doing that? And then you just kind of go, well, no. And it's always the same answer, not yet, we're working on it. And then starting to appreciate those things that you just mentioned, like that he's happy, he can communicate in a way that he can get understood, and you can understand him and he can understand you, is such a game changer. And I just think it's kind of like a mindset, isn't it? You have to choose to celebrate everything that is worth celebrating, because otherwise this path would just drain you. And there hasn't been 1 or 2 times when we've messaged each other sharing a milestone, which is a little bit different to a general milestone with children, and having that person to go to and say, hey, my child learned to fix their own cochlears or whatever it is.
No. It does put things in perspective, just life in general. It doesn't matter if your kids become the CEO of a company or go to the best school, or if they're just happy and thriving within themselves, that's all that matters. And
absolutely.
And feel good within themselves, and they're accepted and included in their community. Like, that's all you want.
Yes. Just a simple request. Okay, Hannah, one more question for you, and I think you've already touched base with that a little bit, but if you look at the last 5 years since Oscar came into your world and kind of changed it completely in a good way, what do you think has been the most valuable lesson for you that you've learned? Like you mentioned a little bit, but do you want to summarize it a bit more?
Yeah, I can only speak on behalf of myself. I probably shouldn't speak on behalf of my husband, but because the one person who's, been through everything the same. But I think having Oscar has completely changed our lives. Yes, it's challenging, but it's completely changed our lives for the better. I always thought, I was a good person before. I always thought I was kind and empathetic, and, especially in my job. I actually have a quote here that I think I've heard. It might have been on another podcast, or someone said it anyway. I actually wrote it down, so it obviously resonated with me. And it said, the gift to our families is the loss of the shackles of judgment. And I think it just couldn't be more true. Not that I was ever a judgy person before. I was always accepting of all people and all their different needs, but I think until you live it, and it doesn't have to be, pinpointed to disability, it could be any type of difference. You just accept everyone for who they are, and everyone's welcome here. And it's just a huge lesson. And what he has brought into our world, we wouldn't have met the people or have the community we would have without him. We've learnt a new language. We've created a whole new village that isn't just important for Oscar, but important for all of us, like Oscar's siblings. He's taught them things that they might not have learnt. I think being a sibling of someone with additional needs creates very special people. Yeah, that's not one specific lesson. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. And
the beauty of acceptance, it's just, I think, what we've learnt. And just taking the pleasure in the mundane.
Absolutely.
Is also really important too.
What powerful.
And that you can do it. You can do hard things. You can experience some real, like you said, some real lows, but you also realise, look at you. Look at what you're capable of. Something like this, just awesome. So,
yeah. I think it's just that mindset that you have to find, and it doesn't come straight away. Like, I'm sure if we've done this episode about 4 years ago, it would have sounded very different from both of our perspectives. So I think you have to go into the deep end and find your peace and find your strategies. And like you said, find your people, find your community, and then start to embrace it.
I do think sometimes, like, how lucky are we? We get to experience these moments of joy that other people just won't.
Yeah.
And have those connections with people that just get it.
Yes.
I think, we're very lucky at the same time.
I agree. I think that is a great way to summarize this wild journey, as well as this amazing time that you've spent with me today. I am so grateful for you, Hannah, that you came. You're such a brave, inspiring woman, and I hope that people get a lot of comfort and wisdom out of your story, and I'm sure we will hear from you again.
I'm always up for a chat. I'm up to anyone. Oscar's got quite a few different health needs, so we sort of don't fit into one box. But the minute I hear of a family going through something, I'm like, you don't want to force yourself on. I'm here. You're not alone, I promise.
Yes.
Ask me anything. You want to be that support for other people. So this hopefully can give people some comfort to know that you're not alone.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure. No worries.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope that you enjoyed Hannah's story. If you know someone who would love hearing about Hannah and her strength and inspiration, please feel free to share this episode on your socials. As always, please send some feedback through. If you have any ideas of topic suggestions, you have any messages to Hannah, anything, please hit me on Instagram. Would love to hear from you. See you next week. Bye.